If you have been in or around the online art community for a while, you are probably aware of the plethora of month-long daily art challenges that artists participate in every year. The month of October is typically a hotspot for these challenges, like Inktober, Cringetober, OCtober, and some others in other months like Mermay in May. The way these challenges work is that each challenge has a specific prompt list with different prompts for every day of October. I participated in OCtober last year, which was actually my first time committing to and completing a month-long art challenge. I've attempted Inktober in the past, but I've only ever gone through like the first 3 days before giving up. So, with the success of last year, I wanted to do OCtober again this year. But after searching around a bit, I couldn't find any prompt lists that I really liked. So my chances of doing another October art challenge were looking kind of slim. On a completely unrelated note, I love ARCANE. It's the greatest show of all time. Literally changed the trajectory of my life, always on the back of my mind. Every waking hour, it's just ARCANE, 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 ARCANE. So, when ARCANE's little social media team dropped an ARCANE-themed October art challenge to promote season 2 of the show before it came out, suddenly every delusion I once had about me not being swayed by simple marketing strategies is out the window. So, October. It's October. I did October, guys. I love ARCANE so much. I'm currently recording this audio the day the first 3 episodes came out. I haven't watched them yet as of right now. I have no idea when this video is gonna come out, but when it does come out, I'll let you know how the show's been going. That being said, here's all of the October art that I made. Yay! 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 ARCANE! Yay! Quick little disclaimer. I will be talking about ARCANE as if everyone watching this video has already watched season 1. So there will be some spoilers, and I will not be explaining that much context about anything. So I guess you just gotta watch the show now, if you haven't already. For October, I wanted to take this as an opportunity to do some background studies and art style studies, because I have kind of been slacking on that for the past year, so I really needed to get back on that art grind. For day 1, piltover, I had a very specific reference of a background in my mind that I wanted to use. So I found it, took one look at it, and was immediately like, oh, okay, that looks very simple and easy to draw. It was not, if that's not clear enough, but I attempted anyway. I couldn't add as much detail as I would have liked because I didn't want to take like over half an hour or so for any of these drawings. I wasn't really trying to finish full illustrations every single day because I don't hate myself. But honestly, despite this one being the first drawing of the month, it's still one of my better background studies, which maybe just means I didn't improve that much, but we were off to a pretty strong start. For zaun, I did another background study, of course, but I tried a different method this time. I'm not the most experienced with backgrounds, so I don't really know which techniques I like and which ones I don't like. For this drawing, I tried this like selection tool method where you use the selection tool and draw out a shape and then color it in with gradients. And I hated it, so halfway through the drawing I just went back to what I did the day before, which was just regular old painting. I mostly tried to focus on color picking with this one, and I think I did a pretty good job. My favorite. I love my queen, my gorgeous Wajan girly pop. Love her. Even though she's most definitely, maybe, probably gonna do something bad in season 2 with her mom being dead, I'm assuming, and all. I don't know if that's true because I haven't watched it yet, but it only makes sense. But with Woman of the Hour can do no wrong, at least in my heart, Caitlyn, Cupcake Kierman, being my favorite character in ARCANE, I had to do her justice. I was a little worried at first because 1, I have surprisingly never drawn Caitlyn before, and 2, I'm still excruciatingly slowly working my way out of my ever so deeply rooted same face syndrome. So I wasn't entirely sure how this one was gonna go, but in the end, I was pretty darn successful, if I do say so myself. When I did OCtober last year, I mainly just drew people, my OCs, so, you know, all of my OCs are human, and I mostly drew either like a shoulder up, waist up, a few full bodies every now and then. I also did the shading the same way, using mostly the same color. This year, I wanted to put more effort into drawing a variety of things, mostly to prevent myself from getting sick of this challenge too soon. So for day 4, I kept it simple and drew a hand and a prop, which I don't actually draw a whole lot of, I'm realizing. I had no idea what to draw for Legacy. The whole reason I avoid prompt lists that have vague and broad prompts is so I can have something very specific to draw without having to do that much thinking. Like, I'm gonna be drawing every single day. I'm not really trying to use my brain like that. That thing only has so much power, you know what I mean? So I was like, Legacy? What the heck do I draw for that? And I just ended up drawing Heimerdinger. I saw some other people's art, and they drew like Vander with Vi, or Silco with Jinx, the whole like family legacy of Vi and Jinx, and their similarities to their father figures. And that is such a good idea, and I wish I thought of that, but I didn't. My logic behind picking Heimerdinger was that he's like 300 years old, and he's a scientist and was a counselor. You know, he has probably contributed a lot to both science and society, and that's his legacy. Yeah, see, that makes sense. What I didn't realize though was that there was an actual Heimerdinger prompt much later in the month, so I was really, really stoked to find out I would get to draw him again, because I love drawing animal adjacent characters. Haha, get it? Because Vi has a tattoo of the Roman numeral of the number 6 on her cheek, and it's spelled like VI, like her name, and the Vi prompt's on day 6, like the number, like the Roman numeral, and then and I think I got a little too cocky with that Caitlyn drawing from day 3, because I was really happy with that one, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm so good at drawing faces. Vi's gonna be so easy to draw. I could not draw her for the life of me. I was working on the drawing at night and eventually had to just give up and go to bed because it was not working. Luckily, I was already a few days ahead on the prompts, so I didn't have to miss a day or post late because I was posting these daily on my Instagram story, but it was still very unfortunate. I was very excited to draw Vi, only to be so horrendously humbled. I ultimately decided to just zoom out and draw her waist up with less details on the face. I don't think I captured her likeness well still, but I do like how I drew her hair. Ironically, I was more worried about drawing her hair than her face, and her hair ended up being the thing that I was most successful at, but we take those. Haha, get it? Because there's 7 counselors and the council is on day 7 for the 7 counselors, and it like lines up, you know, like how Vi is like number 6 on day 6. Another background study. This one is of the counselor's table. I don't actually know what that room is called, if it has a name, but you know, that whole table thing. I tried something different again. I used a brush with the cleaner edge to define the shapes more rather than roughly painting everything in. I wanted to see how much detail and clarity I could get earlier on in the process, because the previous background studies, I basically splotched in colors and had to clean up the edges later. But the problem with that is that I never organize my layers. So like during the process, I'm trying to clean up one part and I think it's on this layer, but it's not. So I have to scroll through all of my other unnamed layers to find where it is. But the problem with that is that I paint different parts of the drawing on the same layer. Like, you would think that a building would have its own separate layer, but I'm out here drawing parts of the sky on the same layer as the building, and it's like why? I don't know. Don't ask me, even though I'm the one drawing this, but still, don't ask me. So this drawing was kind of my attempt to be just a tad bit more organized with my layers, but I can't actually tell you if I was or not because I don't remember. I picked this scene because, well, it's blue, but it's also so beautifully tragic, or tragically beautiful, because in this scene you want to be happy for Powder because she's happy that this is the first time one of her gadget succeeded, but then at the same time she just like killed her entire found family. I mean, it's not like she knows that, but we, the viewers, know that, and you just don't know how to feel. Also, what I thought was cool, this is completely unrelated to the drawing, but what I also thought was cool was how Powder essentially invents hextech at the same time as Jace and Victor, because she does her little monkey bomb thing like right after, so you should feel happy for both parties, and you're definitely happy for Jace and Victor. But again, Powder kills literally everybody, and it's like foreshadowing that hextech is gonna bring some potential dangers, and that Jinx is gonna kill everyone again, well, kill the council, at the end of season 1. Guys, I love the writing in Arcane so much. Oh, yeah, I guess the drawing's cool too. For Rivalry, I chose Ekko and Jinx. Well, technically Ekko and Powder from their flashback sequence during the bridge scene. Arguably one of the best scenes in the show. I am honestly really picky about dialogue in any form of writing, so I just love how this scene conveys so much emotion and history between these two characters with like one line of dialogue only at the very beginning. It's so good. It's so good. I picked Ekko and Jinx mostly because Vi and Jinx felt a little obvious, and I'm not like everybody else, guys. I'm different. I'm quirky. I also don't really see them as rivals necessarily, because I see rivals as like two people having exact equal footing and a lot of similarities, but they're competing with each other to fight for the same thing. Both Ekko and Jinx hate Piltover and want Zaun to be a recognized power and have more freedom and basic human rights, but they're fighting the same fight in different ways. That, and they were very clearly friendly rivals during their childhood. With this drawing, I wanted to experiment with texture because I don't do that ever. I usually stick with clean-ish line art, solid colors, and clean cell shading, so it was fine to try out new brushes with different textures. I actually have drawn Jinx a couple times before, back in 2021 and 2022, so day 10 was pretty straightforward. Jinx is definitely the easiest for me to draw. Oh wait, I said I drew her a couple times, but I've drawn her like quite a bit. I have some sketches of her in one of my sketchbooks. Jinx is definitely the easiest for me to draw because I have the most practice with her. I love her design so much, and it's definitely not so complicated that it makes me want to rip my hair out every time I draw her. This drawing's definitely one of my favorites. Please ignore the machine gun thing in the back though. It looks like that only because I couldn't see it very well in the reference photo I was using. No other reason. Definitely not because I didn't feel like finding another reference to use. This is the hand of that mysterious mage guy that Jace met when he was a kid. I played around with texture again, but other than that, I just kept it simple. I didn't draw the full screenshot. I don't remember why exactly. I'm just gonna assume that I was tired that day. I am super excited though to learn more about the magic in the world of Arcane. So far we've only seen how magic is used in combination with science, and the only time we've seen pure magic was in this one flashback with Jace. Kind of funny how we have yet to learn more about the arcane part of Arcane despite the show already being halfway finished. Ekko's another one of my favorite characters. I've drawn him once back in 2021. I was actually really proud of that drawing at the time because it was the first time I attempted painting digitally, and well, that hair could use some work. Well, not like the hair in this drawing is that much better. I'm still trying to figure out how to simplify protective hairstyles without having to rely on those brushes some people make specifically to draw them, but I keep forgetting, as I do with most, if not all, things I set out to study. But I think I like the method I used to draw Ekko's hair. I just definitely need to practice it more so that I can draw this nonchalant redhead in the quality he deserves. I mean, look at that guy. You see his jawline? Bro's been mewing. Okay, moving on. I think this screenshot is such a perfect choice for this prompt because there was that flashback of Victor where he made that little toy boat and put it in that stream of water, and as he was chasing it, You know, he can't walk, he needs a cane to walk, and he ends up tripping and falling behind. In this scene that I drew, it's right after Victor injected himself with that shimmer stuff to like improve his leg, and now he's running. He couldn't run before. And you see the boats in the background? You see how he's running ahead of them? Yup. He's running after the boat before, now he's running ahead. Parallelism, guys. It's redemption. It's redemption. I'm literally such a genius. Thank you. Like I mentioned before, I wanted to use Arctober as a way of forcing myself to do studies and to draw from references, because I definitely don't do that as much as I should. But I did plan to shift about halfway through the month to doing some original art for some days, which was a good idea in theory. But what I forgot to take into account was how tired I would start to get about halfway through the month. Tired enough for me to not want to use my brain to think of something to draw by myself, especially when it involved characters I'm not used to drawing. And especially because I would draw all of these at the end of the day, like before I'm gonna go to bed, so I'm like tired, you know? So this drawing ends up being one of the only drawings that I didn't directly copy a reference for, and I think you can maybe tell a little bit. Yeah, not one of my best works, admittedly. Second attempt at drawing Vi. I don't think I did any better, but I don't think I did worse, which is important. Caitlyn, on the other hand, not too sure what I did there, but Miss Ma'am has definitely seen better days, I'll tell you that much, brother. For progress, I chose to draw that little golden butterfly that is seen frequently throughout the show, well, starting in the second arc and forward, because butterflies are a symbol of change. Butterflies are always associated with transformation because of the transformation from a stinky little caterpillar to a beautiful, gorgeous butterfly with beautiful, gorgeous wings. When the second arc of Arcane starts on episode 4, it's after a time skip of a few years or so, and it's Progress Day. And the first shot we see of the Progress Day festival that Piltover is having is of that golden butterfly, indicating that things have changed. Technology has changed, our main characters have changed, or are going to change. Progress, in one way or another. The only thing I could think of for this prompt was that one scene where Jinx was jamming out to that Get Jinx song, and Silco's in the back very unsuccessfully trying to get her attention. I was a little hesitant to follow through with that idea though. Now that I was halfway through the month, I did, like I said, want to try to draw more original art, but whenever I tried to think of literally any other idea for this prompt, I couldn't not think of that song because it's so catchy and that scene is so iconic. So I drew from reference again, which isn't a bad thing. I think I also rushed this one because I was tired the day I was working on it. I remember thinking the line art was not turning out well at all, but I think I turned it around with the shading in the end. I try to go darker with the shading since I tend to stick with lighter to mid-tone colors, but I wanted to add more depth and contrast. I like the shading on the hair especially. It kind of looks jelly-like, if that makes any sense. This drawing actually turned out to be one of my favorites though, despite the rough start. I chose Mel because I love her makeup. She is so pretty. I love her eye makeup. I love her golden freckles. I really, really wanted to draw Mel. That being said, I don't think I captured her likeness at all. I think it's the eyes. I think the eye on screen left is like entirely the wrong shape. This challenge has really been teaching me that I just don't know how to draw eyes, I guess. Actually, you know what it is? It's because I grew up drawing like dot eyes. Very simplistic style for eyes. And now it's coming around to bite me in the butt. So I kind of goofed Mel's face, which is such a bummer because I really liked how I rendered her face. It's just that all of her facial features are ever so slightly off. But I guess you win some, you lose some, right? Not only did Arctober teach me that I can't draw eyes, but it also taught me that I can't draw clouds. You'd think that it'd be so simple, You just pick out some colors, splotch it on, and boom, you've got clouds. But for some reason, whenever I do that, those splotches of colors only register to me as splotches of color and not clouds. When I'm looking at this drawing now, I'm like, yeah, those are clouds. But when I was working on it, it just didn't look like anything. Regardless, I really like the color palette on this one, and I like how I rendered the globe thing. I did get a little bit lazy with the lower part of the hex gate, but just don't look at that too closely. I was quite intimidated about having to draw Ambessa because, as I will complain about time and time again, I'm not the best at drawing muscular people. With that in mind, I did not even attempt to draw a detailed portrait, and with how much I struggled with Mel, I figured I would try to garner at least a little more success with her mom. So instead of a portrait, I drew full body and kept it simple for the sake of my sanity. I actually had a lot of fun trying to simplify Ambessa's design though. I'm definitely much more confident about focusing on shape language rather than tiny little details. Which, now that I think about it, I don't know why I didn't draw more full bodies than I did. Kind of a missed opportunity there, huh? Oh well. When I say details are a weak point for me, I really mean it, with no exaggeration at all. As much as I love tattoos, I always avoid having to draw them because of the details. Regardless, Pit Fighter Vi has me in quite the chokehold, as I'm sure she does everyone else. So I felt like it was my obligation to draw her in her emo era at least once during this month. This specific reference I used was kind of perfect for the state I was in at this point. I was avoiding drawing faces because they were getting a little frustrating. So because of that, I took this day as an opportunity to draw that shot of Vi's back. Tattoos. I don't have anything else to say for this one other than, hey lesbians, how's it going? Are we doing okay? Hey everyone, just wanted to let y'all know I'm currently on day 2 of recording this voiceover, and I have now watched the first 3 episodes of ARCANE Season 2, and it is so good. I won't spoil anything, of course, but it's so good so far. Anyway, this drawing is of that firelights sequence from Season 1. It's pretty fun to draw because I think the last time I drew in a lineless art style was like 6 years ago, so I'm glad I got to experiment with it again. I love the scene that this screenshot is from so much because I love when there's art style changes in animation. It's so fun. I brought up that I watched some of Season 2 though because there's been so many art style changes so far. In the first 3 episodes, like at least one scene per episode has had an art style change, and it's so cool, and I'm so excited for the upcoming episodes. At this point in October, I was getting quite burnt out, and as a character artist such as myself, the last thing I want to draw when I'm burnt out is backgrounds/environments, so I wasn't really all that excited to work on this drawing, but I pushed through. This one's definitely one of my weakest, in my opinion. Not the weakest. The weakest is coming up soon. Spoiler alert. For the bridge prompt, I initially was planning to draw the actual bridge, but then I looked at a screenshot of it and no thank you. So I opted for drawing Vi, Powder, and Vander on the bridge rather than the bridge itself. Despite my initial reluctance to draw Professor Heimerdinger yet again, I'm actually quite proud of how this drawing turned out. Before Season 2 came out, there were a few scenes that were released earlier as a little sneak peek to the show, this one included. It's of Ekko and Heimerdinger sneaking through some vents to break into some place. Heimerdinger was so cute and silly, so I wanted to draw him from this scene. I think my shading has definitely improved since the beginning of the month, because comparing this drawing of Heimerdinger to the one from before, this one looks a lot more 3D and less flat, and I'm really happy about that. I don't know why I was so surprised by the amount of metal I would have to draw throughout this month, but I was. So far, I had only been rendering metal in a very simplified way, so this time, because I had a little more free time to draw, I really wanted to try really hard to make this look good. It was very intimidating for sure, because 1, I rarely ever fully rendered metal before Arctober, and 2, I never draw weapons. I love Caitlyn's new gun. It's so sick. I tried so hard to get all the details as accurate as possible. I also kinda wanted to redeem myself after day 14. I mean, I didn't even draw Caitlyn's face in this one, so I don't know if this even counts as me redeeming myself, but I am super happy with how this drawing turned out. It honestly might be my favorite from the entire month. For some reason, this entire time I thought the chem-barons were those, like, shimmer guys in those mechanized suits who were protecting the shimmer facilities. You know, the ones that Vi and Jace fought off together? But when I looked them up to find references, I found out that the chem-barons are actually, like, the crime lords of the Undercity, like Silco as a chem-baron. That makes much more sense. And I was quite relieved to learn that I didn't have to draw those mech suit guys, because I really didn't want to. So I drew Silco. I know the prompt is chem-barons, plural, but boy, I am not trying to draw more than one person in one day. So, you know how about 3 seconds ago I said that I'm not gonna try to draw more than one person in one day? Well, I disobeyed myself. Go figure. I had a vision, okay? And that vision was this tragic scene. There's blood, there's sweat, there's tears, so it's perfect, right? Wrong. Okay, so maybe I'm being a little dramatic, but I had a vision, and that vision did not end up being 2020. I'm allowed to be upset about that. If I had a nickel for every time I drew Caitlyn really well, got cocky, and assumed I could put in that same amount of effort for the same amount of output for Vi, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Needless to say, I learned my lesson that I should really follow the rules that I set out for myself. I don't know if it's because I finished these last few drawings more recently and still feel the frustration I harbored at the time of drawing them, but I am finding it increasingly more difficult to remain generally positive in my language in reference to these drawings. All I want to do is complain about the struggles I encountered and my unwillingness to draw specific things. Exhibit A, Vi and her gauntlets. This is now my 4th time drawing Vi, of which my success in doing so is debatable. And the gauntlets, well, the gauntlets look pretty decent, but the burnout was getting to me. I don't usually draw fan art, nor do I draw directly from references this much, so at this point, I was kind of aching to draw my OCs, or literally anything else for that matter. But we keep moving forward. This mural honestly gave me chills the first time I saw it in the season 2 trailer. The idea of her being a leader, or like the face of Zaun, is so crazy because you know she had no interest in any of that before. I'm super excited to see her go down this path. It's gonna be sick, dude. This drawing is a slightly simplified version of the actual mural. It was mostly the smoke at the bottom that I drew differently from how it actually looks. I also messed around with texture again. That's always fun. I also find it interesting how one of Jinx's braids is wrapped around her waist. I wonder what that could mean. I guess I'll just have to wait and find out. Right off the bat, I think I goofed Sevika's face too. I think the eyes are a little too big, but that's okay. Also, I know she has a scar on her left cheek, but I couldn't see it in the reference I was using, so that's my bad. We're reaching the end of Arctober and the quality of each drawing is dwindling. I feel like last year for OC-tober, the quality kind of fluctuated every day, but this time it was more of a steady decline. Even still, I do like how I rendered Sevika's face in this drawing, even if, like my Mel drawing, the facial features are a little bit off. So, you know how I said that I learned my lesson to not try to draw more than one character in one drawing? I didn't. This is the aforementioned weakest drawing of my Arctober art. I was so close to finishing this challenge without cutting any corners, but this one, man, I just could not bring myself to draw the line art. I mean, I guess I didn't have to cut corners. I kind of had two choices. I wasn't ahead on the prompts anymore at this point, so I could either skip the line art and post the drawing on time, or finish it but post it late. Clearly, I took more pride in my ability to post each drawing of each prompt on their respective days than I did producing actual good quality work. In my defense, I also didn't want to work on this drawing anymore. Surprise, surprise, I struggled with drawing Vi's friggin' face. I kinda ended up having to trace over the reference photo just to figure out what the heck was going on. And actually, my sketch of Jinx lined up almost perfectly with the reference photo. Vi, I don't want to talk about Vi. I also forgot to color the gold on her gauntlet, but I was so over it that I just left it the way it was. Haha, get it? The last drop for the last day of October? Last year for OCtober, I drew a final full illustration for the last day of the month. I wanted to do the same thing this year for October, but unfortunately, I did not have time because I prioritized a different illustration for Halloween. Still, I wanted to do something a little different, you know, a little special to celebrate my completion of this month-long art challenge. So, I drew my little arcane Sona sitting at the bar in the last drop. I used a screenshot of Jinx for a reference for the background, but instead of drawing Jinx, I obviously drew myself. I don't know what my lore is. I was thinking that I'm originally from Piltover, but then I get sick and tired of all these stuck-up pretentious topsiders, so then I ditch the place and join the firelights. Or something. I don't know. This drawing still isn't the best, but I did have way more fun drawing this than the past few prompts from the past few days, and that's all I could really ask for. But with that, my extensive journey of drawing Arcane fan art for every single day of October is finally complete. While I am a little disappointed I didn't get to draw a final illustration for October, let's be honest here, I'm gonna be brain rotting about this show for literally the rest of my life. I'll have plenty of chances to draw more fan art. Now that I'm done though, I would like to compile a list of things that I improved on and things that I learned I needed to practice more. I got better at shading, incorporating different textures, understanding lighting, and rendering metal, surprisingly enough. However, I still need to work on backgrounds, eyes, and capturing likeness in general. I kind of went into this challenge expecting to improve by the end of it, and I definitely did in some aspects, but growth isn't really that black and white. You're not going to improve consistently all the time, nor are you going to improve every single skill you could possibly have all at once. I think my highest achievement this month was that I was able to push myself outside of my comfort zone by trying new techniques, new art style, drawing things that I don't typically draw. I learned a lot, to say the least. Despite how tiresome October has been, it was a very rewarding experience simply because I got to learn my strengths and weaknesses. As an artist, those pieces of information are very important if I want to keep improving. Also, I got to indulge in my arcane addiction for a whole month, and ongoing because season 2 has already got a death grip on my brain. Like, arcane is my shimmer. I don't need the actual purple stuff, I can just watch the show. Anyway, go watch Arcane. Thank you for watching. Go watch Arcane. And goodbye. And go watch Arcane.